What's the one thing that ruined your health? Childhood trauma, which led to blocking all physical body responses to stress, pretending it never happened. I did not realize until I was 40 years old and had a complete psychological and emotional breakdown. 30 years of masking pain, thinking mistreatment was love, holding my anger and rage because, quote, I am a kind person and I do not hurt others type of thinking. After my malignant narcissist husband stole everything from me, I started having horrible nighttime chest pain. Always at night, when I was sleeping, I would break out in cold sweat from the pain. I was diagnosed with Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, which is colloquially called broken heart syndrome. Then, 10 months later, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I weighed 115 pounds and did not even eat junk food. My tests were so high in glucose that my doc called me at night to request I come in the next day. Stress had made my cortisol skyrocket. My liver was dumping sugar into my system with every panic attack. My heart was ready to stop working. Story 2. My ex-husband got an STD and didn't bother telling me. By the time I discovered what was causing me to be so ill, I needed to have a full hysterectomy. I was 26 years old. 25 years later, I found out that I should have been on hormone patches. I should have had them from the initial hysterectomy, but I hadn't had them, so I developed osteoporosis. It was a series of medical problems, and I suffered because my ex couldn't keep his Johnson in his pants. Sometimes the consequences of others' actions aren't good. Story 3. Mono. I didn't have it until I was 29 and it completely wiped me out. I was off work for about a month. I couldn't do anything without needing a nap. I felt like I was never going to recover. And I basically didn't. I never returned to my pre-viral levels of energy or health no matter what I did. Then I got multiple sclerosis, which they believe requires a viral trigger, amongst other things. So from the age of 36, I've been legally disabled. All due to mono, a cytomegalovirus that the vast majority of people have by their teens. Story 4. COVID. I never really recovered my sense of taste and smell, developed diabetes type 2 afterwards, and ever since, I've also had sleep apnea episodes, which we're currently looking into. My vision went from 20/20 to, if I don't wear glasses, I won't be able to see the wall in front of me until I hit it. I can't work out as well as I used to and have been mostly strength training and jogging because running will give me chest pains. For some reason, ever since I got COVID, I also can't eat spicy stuff. It will literally burn my mouth and no one can explain why. It's a shame because spicy is one of the few things I can still taste. People used to tell me I was a really good cook too, and now everything I cook is too salty or sweet or sour for everyone else. I used to love cooking. Story 5. Depression robbed me of most of my youth, and it's only since my mid-20s that I've done the work and gotten some growth out of the misery I experienced. Physically, I never took care of myself, so having to change years of neglect and poor choices is not fun. Drink plenty of water, try to eat healthy, take care of my teeth, stretch, get good sleep. Best of luck to anyone fighting the good fight. Story 6. Vaping. Never, ever try it. My lung capacity has probably dropped below 50% of what it was before I started. I cannot go a half flight of stairs without getting winded. I can't go longer than 45 minutes to an hour without vaping, or it's all I can think about. It causes me bad breath, even with decent oral hygiene. I'm very worried about one of my lungs collapsing or getting popcorn lung. Seriously, never hit a vape, ever. I've read that they are a lot stronger than cigarettes, and even those are hard to quit. Personally, I've tried quitting a few times and had no success. I just cannot stick to a schedule to wean myself off. Not right now, anyway. And because of this, it's negatively impacted my mental health. Story 7. Lifelong immunocompromised. I managed it well until my second semester of university, even through a cruel marriage, which I'm sure had a hand in my health. My dad passed in '95, and it's all gone downhill since. I was diagnosed with clinical depression when I was a teen, but got re-diagnosed as bipolar 2 in the late 90s, and that changed my mental health for the better. I was super stressed through my second marriage. I'm still in it. I have no other options right now. I'm broke, disabled, and under constant stress. When we first met, I was still pretty healthy, considering, not anymore, 23 years. It started with CFS/ME, and now I have fibro, ADHD, CPTSD, COPD, anxiety, and aspects of BPD, but I'm not officially diagnosed. Since getting married this time, I've lost a baby, ectopic, and my ability to have a very rare retinal disease that has damaged my retinas beyond repair, which they think may be autoimmune. It's so rare there haven't been enough studies on it. Treatment is immunosuppressants. I also now have myasthenia gravis, a rare neuromuscular disease that causes weakness of the skeletal muscles. I have had food/drink go out of my nose. I choke on them too. I have double vision and droopy eyelids when I'm not medicated, and a slew of other symptoms. Like my lungs could decide, nah, we're not working today, and I could wind up on a vent. Just an example, hasn't happened yet. So the things have piled one on top of the other until it's a mountain of health problems. It's expensive and exhausting. Story 8. A combination of natural delayed sleep phase, bipolar disorder, and years of terrible sleep hygiene have made my circadian rhythm almost non-existent and my sleep schedule incredibly inconsistent. It means I can't keep a job without a lot of flexibility in the hours that I work, and I can only work part-time because I am literally always tired. I also have femoral retroversion. My femurs are angled outwards, which causes duck feet. It has affected my posture a lot and caused excruciating back pain when I walk or try to exercise. Story 9. Getting into a car accident. I was working as a public transit driver when I was cut off by a group of teenagers in a stolen car. I ended up slamming them into a tree. They jumped out of the car and ran off. I was 33 years old. I'm now 41. I have permanent damage to my lower back, L5 and S1, assuming S1 as L6 is rare and often referred to as S1. My sciatic nerve is always on fire and I had to leave my job. I thought I recovered and got a new job at the post office. Thankfully, I'm doing semi-all right. But there are days I can barely walk. I put on almost 100 pounds during my recovery, and I'm slowly losing it all with all the walking I'm doing now at work, but I'll never be the same. Story 10. Not ruined, as I'm feeling quite awesome, but relatively ruined, I'd say, the nutrition my parents imparted on me. I was a competitive swimmer in high school, and I'll take the blame too, I guess. I just didn't learn or know about hitting macros back then. I didn't eat enough protein, like at all. If I had just been hitting my protein macros through high school, I would have been incredibly happier with my physique for the next 20 years, which I am getting to now. Story 11. The Army. I have a spinal injury at 24. I'm 27 now, and I had to trade my love for the outdoors with tolerating being inside and not traveling. Never seen combat, so I feel ashamed for being medically separated because I couldn't perform my job as a combat medic with a messed up spine. ER visits were about once a month because of how easy a flare-up would happen. I wouldn't be able to walk. 27 and I can't go hiking or camping anymore. In case I hurt my back by sneezing, I'd have to be rescued. It's depressing and hurts me on all fronts of my life. I feel ashamed for being injured significantly without some reasonable story to go with it. Story 12. The focus on weight and dieting. I was put through unrealistic diets starting age 12. I pursued weight loss with despair until age 29. And I've been in recovery for atypical anorexia ever since. 5 years of therapy later, I'm okay. I am now obese. There's a good chance my metabolism is wrecked more than it genetically was. I have PCOS and insulin resistance. Ages 9 onwards, all I heard was how important it was that I just try to lose weight. And I tried, and I even achieved both weight loss and maintenance of that weight. But then I lost access to my meds and life just became madness. I spent years desperate and obsessed. All I was told was to please try to lose weight. And I thought I wasn't trying hard enough until I stopped eating. All of this was enabled by well-meaning but blind dietitians who just lowered and lowered my calorie intake at every diet. Thankfully, the last one I saw recognized my ED behavior. I probably owe him my life or my sanity. Now I focus on variety in my plate and in my fridge. I focus on movement for joy and pleasure. I focus on other good habits like sleep and meditation, and I take care of my little wrecked body. 2 burnouts have helped the destruction further. Story 13. Honesty, first and foremost, negative thinking and drama and living my life in that sort of way. It was the way I was raised, and I didn't realize life could be different until my late 20s. On top of that, I always felt crushing shame and guilt for simply being alive, as I felt I was a burden and really didn't want to have my life, as my parents had to spend money to give me free lodging as a child. I always felt so terrible about that, and it was hard for me to cope with as an adult that I had parted with my dad with so much money when he didn't want kids in the first place, or at least if he had to have kids, he'd wanted a boy and not a daughter. I was also born with a heart defect. I didn't realize how much it was affecting me until I got open heart surgery in my early 30s. My parents didn't want me to get it as a kid because they didn't want me to be ugly because of the scar. My dad was really mad when he found out I was getting open heart surgery because he didn't want to come to the hospital to visit me because, though he doesn't work, his parents made him a multimillionaire so he never had to. Exercising and taking walks is super important to him, so I wouldn't expect him to come to the ICU to see me. Which is fine because I don't want to spend time talking about what a badass he is while I'm fresh out of surgery. Ha ha ha. Really, since my parents haven't been in my life, it feels way different not waking up to chaos, yelling, drama, fighting, guilt, and getting cut down and demeaned simply for having a life you didn't even ask for. It does a ton to simply be grateful and have a positive outlook and attitude. I had tried saying as much to my parents, but they felt I was out of touch and quote-unquote needed a reality check and was in denial of how awful and terrible life is. I feel like you sort of make your own reality. It took me until my mid-30s to form this mindset for myself. Not every day is perfect or ideal even. And I feel really ashamed of myself for, I guess, having what I would consider a late start in life. But I am really grateful for having the ability to simply not feel like waking up and starting the day is equivalent to a nuke being dropped on you, and you're getting assaulted from all sides, if that makes sense. Even though I have like a ton of nightmares every night, which makes me feel tired often, I'm just so grateful to wake up upset from my nightmares instead of the sheer guttural fear that used to hit me when I'd wake up every day. I'm very, very, very grateful for that. Story 14. Hematological cancer. It came out of nowhere at 27 and made me very grateful for what I had before. 10 months isolated in the hospital. I'm in remission and back at work 1 month later, trying to get back what I had. 3 months later, I relapsed in my cerebrospinal fluid. All the nurses and doctors, as well as family and friends, had the same reaction on their faces. For goodness sake! I got my bone marrow transplant in 2023 and I've been fine since. I'm always looking over my shoulder now, though. I had some intense life-saving treatment, which can cause secondary cancers. You're never cured when you get cancer. You're in remission and eventually cancer-free if no relapse or growth happens. Anytime I feel a similar feeling to when I was sick, I get a jolt of panic like, oh shoot, is this the same as that time? Before my logical brain kicks in and reminds me this is just one time. Whereas the other symptoms were over months. Get regular tests, learn the signs of sepsis, donate samples, and also think about being a bone marrow donor. If one person does one of those things, my job as a survivor is done. Story 15. My own immune system. I started having severe allergies and asthma as an infant, and it continued through childhood. I was miserable and couldn't play sports, climb trees, or go outside for parts of the year. At the age of 13, the switch flipped and the allergies went away, but suddenly I started having joint pain and numbness in my hands and feet. Now, as a 55-year-old adult, I have 7 different autoimmune diseases, including MS, fibromyalgia, and RA, and I still have never climbed a tree. Story 16. Anorexia/binge restrict cycle when I was 15 to 17 caused stomach shrinking, constant nausea, and frequent retching, a poor immune system exacerbated by my chronic illness, low iron, terrible nutrition/bad relationship with eating, and weight fluctuations that made me lose 25 to 30 pounds in like a month, and then gain 60 pounds in like 2 months when I flipped in the opposite direction and solely binged instead of recovering. That and my OCD and depression causing me to live in a black mold-infested bedroom for months. Mold sickness is no joke, dude. It caused immune issues, chronic fatigue, and chronic joint pain, exacerbated by my chronic illness as well, and my depression ended up having to clean out my room and throw out a bunch of stuff. And my health immediately improved so much upon living in a clean environment. Having a clean environment is a human right for a reason. Everyone deserves help and support. Story 17. All I wanted was for my mental health and mood to be stabilized, not to fluctuate so dramatically with my hormonal cycle. Instead of giving me an antidepressant as I'd asked for, I was prescribed a birth control pill because I'm female. It nearly ended me. Over the course of the month, I started slowly having some issues, but brush it off as my asthma just acting up due to it being winter. I had huge bruises on my legs, but I'm clumsy as heck. Then I became extremely nauseous and blacked out. I couldn't walk more than 10 steps without feeling like I was having a heart attack. My resting heart rate was 130. I was taken to the ER where it was discovered I had bilateral pulmonary embolisms in all 5 lobes of my lungs and was immediately put on an aggressive dose of blood thinners, spending a week in the hospital. Had I waited another day, I probably wouldn't be here. This was 2 years ago, come February. I just turned 30 this year, and I'm still struggling with the recovery. I get winded going up the stairs in my own house, my heart rate spikes randomly, I develop medical PTSD, and my anxiety is just that much worse whenever I feel something is just a touch off. My doctor believes I have post-PE syndrome, which there is no real treatment for, and can last up to 3 years, at least that's as far as the studies have gone. Beyond that, I'm not able to have anything containing estrogen. I will likely be at high risk whenever I do decide to get pregnant. I will always be predisposed to future clots. After giving me 2 or 3 other non-hormonal birth controls that also made no difference, my doctor finally put me on a normal antidepressant and, what do you know, it worked nearly instantly in stabilizing my moods. It's too bad my mental health is otherwise shattered due to a serious decline in quality of life from all the complications I'm dealing with from the whole ordeal. Story 18. Sports as a kid/teen tore my ACL, which I had repaired, but which has now developed into fairly severe arthritis, only in my mid-40s, and having my quote-unquote bell rung. We didn't use the word concussion back then, which I think is starting to cause some memory issues. The knee thing is bad though, keeps me from doing a lot of activities, which has led me to being too sedentary, which leads to health issues. Also, there was no one to point out that going from being a fairly intense athlete to a sedentary adult would require a fairly significant change of diet. Food I had been encouraged to eat a lot of seemed like a normal way to eat, and it was fine through college, but adult life didn't do well with it. I'm not able to play sports with my own kids. I can shoot hoops, but not play basketball. And when they were little, it was painful to get down and play with them. I think a lot about whether it was worth it and generally conclude it was. I'm still very good friends with most of the people I played sports with, but we'll see how the head injury thing develops as I age. That might change the equation. Story 19. COVID, got infected by a friend once, developed ME, and have been on a steady decline ever since. Lost the life I've built while still being alive, basically. Nowadays, I can't work anymore, can't go outside unless it's for doctor's appointments, 80% bedbound, no social life. I'm on the way to not being able to play games anymore, which has been my one comfort in this crap show. Even the smallest amount of exertion causes so much agony. I'm so weak and in so much pain every single day. Some days I don't even have the strength to speak or tolerate light. All I can do is rest, pace, and be patient and hopeful that someday a treatment might be found, but it's tough to hold on. Story 20. Sitting at a desk 8 hours a day, very quickly after college, even remaining relatively athletic and a gym goer, my back quickly started hurting. I know it's because of my desk job. Also, Accutane, I regret taking it. My skin is so clear now, but the back pain got much worse during it, and it didn't super improve in the next 6 months I've been off of it. I used to never have pain. Well, not really, and working out was easy, and I was strong. Now I can barely lift, and it feels so weak. Story 21. Not ruined necessarily, but I had a stint with disordered eating in high school because schmucks on social media don't just let fat people be, and it's easy to internalize that crap as a teen. I starved myself and ended up tanking the speed of my metabolism. It's still not recovered 7+ years later. It's super easy for me to gain weight now and nearly impossible to lose it. If I had a healthy relationship with food back then, I would probably be much fitter, feel better within myself, and actually be healthier in the present. It's been hard, but I'm learning to eat healthy and exercise for the healthy rather than for the looks. I won't ever be skinny, but that's okay. Story 22. Alcohol. Never a heavy drinker. I'm into sports, etc., but when I have my quote-unquote cheat days, I've gotten into the habit of drinking IPAs over the weekend, then the next weekend, and so on, and before you know it, I gain a good amount of weight and look swollen and feel sluggish within a few weekends. It takes more hard work to get back to feeling my normal self. So even not having a problem, necessarily, alcohol is just so unhealthy for you in so many ways. Oh, and social media, 100%. Story 23. An infection when I was a teen that led to CFS and fibromyalgia. It's the same that many are experiencing with long COVID. Whatever the infection, if there's a chance you'll end up with life-altering effects from it, do whatever you can to avoid getting it. I got so sick of hearing about COVID deniers, people who refuse to wear a mask, or conspiracies about the vaccine. The truth is, I trust in science and in medical experts. Nothing is foolproof, and we're obviously still learning about COVID. The reality is, though, some viruses or infections can cause you to have horrendous after effects, while other people could recover 100%. It's sad to think of how many people are suffering with long COVID only to have other people blame it on the vaccine or deny it altogether. We need research and education, not crappy behavior towards people in need. And if you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this. Story 24. COVID in 2020. Perfectly healthy, 36-year-old pre-COVID, lifting weights, hiking, working hard on my business. Complete immune system meltdown within weeks of quote-unquote recovering. I still have post-exertional malaise, reduced ejection fraction in my heart, lactic acidosis, POTS, cognitive dysfunction, and a slew of other issues. I know spontaneous recovery is possible this far out, but it's rare. It was not unexpected that there would be a post-acute condition. It happened in Spanish flu, happened in the last SARS, happened with Ebola, etc. What is frustrating is that there are literally zero treatments, very little research, and 400 million people worldwide that have this. I am lucky that I have my own business, but every day is a waking nightmare. You can't exercise or think your way out of cancer. Why people think you can with COVID is beyond me. Story 25. Being overweight most of my life. I'm 22 years old and I have been overweight since I was probably 10, 11. And now I've been diagnosed with an enlarged fatty liver, had a diabetes scare, knees, ankles, feet are constantly in pain. I have IBS, which is causing very bad pain, among other things. I've never taken it seriously at any point in my life, not even when doctors warned me that this would happen. I always brush it off as not that serious or I'll lose the weight soon. Now I'm paying for it. I've been told if I don't lose the weight, my enlarged fatty liver will either give me diabetes, cancer, or just end me eventually. It has scared the crap out of me and really made me do a 180 in my mindset. I've started to eat better, move more, and will soon go on a weight loss medication to help me even more. Story 26. COVID. Before I caught it the first time, I literally got sick every 4 or 5 years. It wrecked my immune system, and in these 3 years, I've been sick so many times, sometimes for months at a time. The other thing was falling in love. When my now husband and I got together, all balanced eating and exercise went out the window. I don't blame him at all. It's my own fault, my own decisions. I don't know what it is about being around him that just makes me want to indulge, but I've gained quite a bit of weight, and admittedly, that's probably not helped my immune system either. Story 27. Mine is kinda lame with all these people who suffered a life-threatening illness. My right hip ball and socket were not working. I had excessive pain, could barely walk, and could not move my leg to the right. If I tried to straddle my bike, I couldn't lift that leg up to get on it. Hiking, heck, even shopping was too much. I went to an ortho who took an x-ray, then told me he'd send me to physical therapy and to the pain clinic for steroid shots, but I would not be getting a hip replacement because I was too young, 53. I spent the next year in pain because I could barely walk. I gained weight. I was fairly active before this. Physical therapy worked on me for a year, but told me there really wasn't anything they could do because it was a bone issue. I finally requested to see the head of ortho. He sent me for more tests and told me he'd have to replace my hip. My hip was replaced, but during that year and 5 months, I was so debilitated that my muscles in my core were barely enough to keep me upright for long. My stomach and back muscles hurt so bad if I stand more than 10 minutes that it's hard to do it. It makes me mad. If he had done it when this started causing problems, I'd have still been in decent shape. Story 28. Years of deep depression. I didn't leave the house. If I did, it was to drink or go buy cigarettes. I didn't really take enough insulin, which made my body eat itself. I'm doing better now, but I'm still dealing with alcohol issues and nicotine addiction, but I get out of bed in the morning, I take better care of myself, and I'm improving where necessary. I'm in better shape now than I've ever been physically. Mentally, I'm still messed up, but I'm working on it. Story 29. Insomnia. It has affected my mental health multiple times. This in turn affects my relationships and my relationship with work. Ended up in the ER once with stress-induced arrhythmia, which I'm sure was connected to my lack of sleep and work stress. It once got so bad that I was literally falling asleep mid-sentence sitting at my kitchen table. I'm afraid of what I may run into as I age. So far, my heart seems okay, but I get scared it won't be great for long. I'm hoping my love for exercise helps keep anything bad at bay for a while longer. Story 30. Januvia. In 2012, my doctor changed my diabetes medication from Actos to Januvia. I took one pill Sunday morning and then one pill Monday morning. Monday afternoon, I didn't feel well and had a bad stomach ache, so I went home early from work. I got worse all night long. Tuesday morning, I was in horrible pain and couldn't get to any of my doctors, so I went to the ER. I was sure I was having pancreatitis, and I was. My lipase was over 3,000 U/L. It did lots of damage, pseudocysts, inflammation, high fever, etc. It did so much damage, I ended up with idiopathic recurrent acute pancreatitis, IRAP. I had dozens of acute attacks over the next 5 years. It was awful, and it's wrecked my health. I lost 40 pounds, became an insulin-dependent diabetic, and it was extremely painful. I had to take 16 milligrams of diluted for a day for months at a time. When I was better, it took 6 months to reduce the pain meds, but then another attack would come. Sometimes the pain was so bad, no amount of any medication would help, leaving me alone in my hospital room screaming in agony for hours and days. Eventually, my pancreas burned out and the attack stopped. I haven't been to the ER in 5 years. I'm thankful it's over, but I'll never be the same or okay again. That kind of pain leaves permanent PTSD. This has truly been awful, and I will never be over it. Story 31. From age 9 or 10 to age 17, I drank 4 to 6 liters of soda per day and ate whatever I wanted. Now I'm 27. All the weight I painstakingly lost was put back on over the last 4 years and then some. Granted, I haven't drank regular soda in a year, and even that was 1 glass of fresh root beer. Other than that, it's been since I was 17. My diet soda addiction took over after that, and then it was 4 to 6 liters of diet soda, and now I've got it down to 1 liter. It's something I'd rather dive into as a wood chipper than fully give up, and I'm in the painstaking task of losing it again. I'm not looking for advice. I know how to lose weight. I just lack motivation. Still lack it, but, I have my personal reasons. But that's how I messed up my health and will permanently have back problems until the day I pass away. Ha ha ha. Story 32. Pregnancy. Even 18 months after birth, my body is still falling apart. My joints are messed up. I weigh just under double what I did beforehand. My mental health absolutely tanked. Limited mobility and poor mental health meant I got zero exercise, so I'm still insanely out of shape. My abdominal muscles are severely damaged from an emergency C-section. I waste myself a little bit whenever I do anything more intense than walking. My hormones have not gone back to normal, so I have a mustache and month-long insanely heavy periods. I'm severely deficient in vitamins A through Z, and God knows what else that isn't immediately coming to mind. And the crazy part is, I want to do it again. Story 33. Kidney failure. I was diagnosed when I was 24. I had been sick for a while and I didn't know what was going on, and I kept getting misdiagnosed and or dismissed. It was until the day I had to get wheeled into the ER with a BP of 220 over 180. They ran all the tests they could, and finally, when they ran an ultrasound on my back, they discovered my kidneys were severely atrophied. I was put on dialysis immediately that night. I had permanent kidney failure and there was no cure. I would have to remain on dialysis for the rest of my life. The only other option that I had was a kidney transplant. And most people think that you just get an organ transplant and then you're all better, but that's not the case. It's not a cure, it's just another form of treatment that has its own problems, complications, and detriments. That was 23 years ago, almost 24 now. In that time, I have done a lot of hemodialysis and I have had 3 different kidney transplants. The first transplant was damaged in another surgery and never worked right after. The second one did pretty well, and I had that for almost 8 years before it stopped working. The doctors said it was a recurrence of the original disease that ended my kidneys, and the third one I got in the middle of the COVID pandemic. That was a weird experience, and that kidney never worked right. They were doing biopsies on it shortly after it was put in, and it continued to degrade over the next few years. I went back on dialysis just about 2.5 years ago, and I remain on dialysis until I pass away. Story 34. Honestly, my marriage, we weren't eating great, we never went out, my mental health near the end was so bad, I had to put myself into intensive outpatient. I was at my largest weight and lost about 60 pounds since leaving my ex by just, being smarter. His friends and family were huge drinkers, so I was getting intoxicated most weekends with them. His friends didn't even really like me looking back on it. I was getting way too high every night with him, just grass. I was absolutely a shell of who I was, mind and body, before I left. I wasn't perfect in my marriage either, and I hold some of the fault for it ending, but looking back, getting married to my ex helped ruin my health, and I am partly to blame for that. Story 35. I spent many years being told my illness was psychosomatic, so I believed them and tended to just push through with the help of Monster and coffee. Well, when I got a bad kidney infection that turned me septic, this wrecked me. After this, I started passing out constantly, going into anaphylaxis and feeling utterly exhausted. I'm convinced that infection wrecked me as I'd never been the same, financially, cognitively, physically, and I got a number of diagnoses and symptoms after this too. Story 36. Stupid vape. I was a smoker for many years with no issues. I swapped to vape to stop smelling like an ashtray at work. I'm a teacher, and within a few months I started having breathing problems. Did get me to quit though. Now I can't smoke even a ciggy. It will raise my BP to the roof and I have a hard time breathing. So yeah, bad and good, I guess. Having MS did mess me up too, but oh well. Story 37. Needing to work multiple jobs and 70 hours a week to get by until I was in my mid-30s. I built habits where I was so used to never being home and not taking care of myself that even when I could start taking care of myself, I didn't and couldn't. This stress also forced me to eat dinner late at night, like 8 to 9 p.m., so I've got used to eating late, which has been an impossible habit to break. Even if I did eat dinner at 5:30, now I still eat at 9 p.m., even if it's a snack, it's hard to break. Also, the crushing anxiety and panic that comes with being afraid to not pay my bills hasn't left me, even though I'm doing better now. Another issue was when I started getting my health in order, I needed a gym to exercise. I can't just go for a walk or whatever because of how my brain associates things. I need a gym to stay focused because going there keeps me on track. When we moved, there wasn't a single gym for 30 minutes, so I never signed back up at a gym. Not anyone's fault, it just, sucks. And now, in my 40s, having to choose between healthcare or food soon is going to be another issue. Story 38. Diagnosed with kidney cancer in 2013. My left kidney was removed, but it had spread to my stomach lining, lungs, adrenal glands, pancreas, and other spots. The tumors were different sizes. I underwent clinical trials for experimental medications to treat stage 4 cancers, as well as known cancer medicines. Luckily, I didn't have to do radiation or traditional chemo, but it was still rough because of all the medicines mixed in my system. In the first couple of years, I was on around 12 to 15 different meds and had some terrible side effects, but they kept the tumors from growing or spreading. In the third year, I developed a cancer of the esophagus and was coughing red liquid. This was a different cancer from the kidney cancer. That same year, I was asked to be part of a trial study for an immunotherapy medicine called Opdivo that had only been used to extend the life of terminal lung cancer patients for 6 months. I began weekly infusions of the medicine for the trial that was supposed to last 6 months. In the first month, the esophageal cancer disappeared, and since my side effects were mild, the trial was extended. The other patient and I took the infusions for a year before side effects caused the trial to end. Some 5 years later, the kidney cancer was somewhat stable, but the tumors had begun to grow. I now had a new doctor and had seen TV ads for Opdivo as a treatment for kidney cancer, and I requested it for treatment. He agreed, and I received infusions for 3 years until I began having side effects that led to the removal of part of my colon, and they stopped treatment with Opdivo. But it had stopped new tumors from appearing and caused the ones I had to begin shrinking and many to go away completely. So after nearly 13 years, I am not cancer-free, but I'm considered in remission, and I'm still alive after being diagnosed with what at the time was considered a death sentence of 6 months to a year. So I recommend if you have cancer, talk to your doctor about Opdivo and request it as part of your treatment. Story 39. My back went out and caused the most excruciating pain in my life. I had 4 ruptured discs, stenosis, and a bone spur in my spinal cord. I had no idea. I was triggered suddenly when reaching for my deodorant and ended up in the ER. I had 3 procedures and a surgery that wasn't very effective. One upper leg is numb. Luckily, the muscle is okay. I will be in pain for the rest of my life. I still walk, exercise, and keep active, but I'll never run again, and kayaking is painful. My flexibility is shot. I can't do a lot of simple exercises. I can't stand for a long time without pain. I was never prescribed hormone replacement medicines, and I have osteoporosis. I wonder if this could have been prevented. I'm lucky that I still am very active, but I'll never be the same. Women, please check early with your doctors about what you can do to maintain bone health as you go through menopause. Story 40. So many responses here about COVID. I lost a friend due to complications from COVID. He caught COVID, was put on a ventilator, and passed away days later. As for myself, I've had COVID 3 or 4 times now just by getting the vaccine. Each time it's been worse. 2 years since my last bout, I still have some brain fog, and some smells will likely never be the same. I know I'm one of the lucky ones. I get so incredibly angry at the ignorant, brainwashed people who still claim that COVID was a hoax and anyone claiming otherwise is a liar. And I should probably get my next COVID shot. Who knows, maybe the vaccine really is keeping me from developing it badly? I just feel that each time I get it, it puts me closer to debilitating problems or death. Story 41. Ulcerative colitis. It took me several years to be diagnosed, and as I was a child, and it was the late 70s, and kids don't get stuff like that. No gastroenterologist would see me. It caused a complication in one of my pregnancies. I was hospitalized numerous times in my life. It restricted what I could do and where I could go when I had a flare-up. Then I had it so long it caused a rare autoimmune liver disease in RA. Now it's an MRI every year to catch potential bile duct cancer. No cure or treatment other than a liver transplant if you get sick enough. Then, 10 months between colonoscopies, I get the news that I need a complete colectomy or I'll have colon cancer within 6 months. I had the surgery and it was a rough recovery. About 10 years from that surgery, mid-pandemic, I have some serious GI issues. Now I have Crohn's disease. The RA, which had always been really mild, reared its ugly head and caused major issues, a lot of prednisone, and finally an injectable medication. Except now it's not working so great. And the prednisone has caused bone density issues, and I had to have a hip replaced, and I'm in my mid-50s. The presentation of issues was unusual, so it went untreated for close to 3 years. As I became more immobile, I gained weight, so now I've got that as an issue too. I swear I'm the only person on the planet that does not have weight loss as a side effect of all my gut issues. It's the one I wouldn't mind having. Sorry for being a Debbie Downer today. Work sucks and I'm crabby because, once again, I'm trying to lose weight and eat responsibly. Story 42. It hasn't been just one thing, but the biggest health ruin comes from chronic fatigue syndrome, CFS, which is very real and not simply all in my head. It's a neurological disorder that causes intense nerve pain, severe fatigue that leaves a lot of us CFS patients jobless or worse, brain fog and weakness that comes on suddenly and I drop whatever I'm holding and slump or slide all the way to the ground. I can barely work and I love my job and want it so badly to do it full time. I've lost so much and this disease is chronic, so I am very unlikely to get these things back. Here's a brief list of some of what I've lost. My job with full benefits. I'm in the US, so that means I'm screwed. Hiking once or twice a week. I rarely leave my house and live in bed. My once vibrant social life because I get worn out from talking to my wonderful friends. Ability to cook my own food, wash my own clothes, and even more basic tasks like hygiene without assistance. Hence, I disgust myself most of the time. Ability to write, which has been a major facet of my career, and I still have so many ideas I can't find the energy to write down, and it hurts. Light, I have blackout curtains everywhere because I get headaches and it's always too bright for me. Music, which I have always loved, but it's too stimulating now and exhausts me very fast, so I barely listen to any. And the list goes on. ME, CFS has only about a 5 to 6% recovery rate, and the rate of severe mental health struggles among patients is quite high because simply living with the condition is, well, exhausting. And we've all been harmed by healthcare professionals who don't believe us, refuse to treat us, make fun of us, etc., etc. I wouldn't wish this disease on my worst enemy because it is hell on earth. I find ways to keep going, I'm surviving and will continue to do so, but it's a wrecking ball that destroys almost everything you have and love and plan to do in the future, so it takes massive resilience to not completely lose hope. Story 43. Stress from being mistreated my entire life. I thought my ex was so awesome until I went to therapy and recounted just quote unquote funny stories. It's horrifying now, so I don't think about it too much. I've done the therapy and medications, the meds, but the harm remains. Don't stay with someone who makes everything about you, somehow about them. I couldn't even have my own mental breakdown be about me, and family wonders why we no longer speak. Run because your life and well-being will depend on it. Story 44. My mother was well-intentioned but sadly immature. She still held a very high school mentality about social interaction after I was born, and since all of my hobbies were a little more on the nerdy/academic side, she encouraged me to pursue those hobbies and not feel pressured to be a jock. I wasn't taught anything about exercise and was never enrolled in a physical activity. Now I'm in my 30s and catching up to my peers in terms of health. I feel better than I ever have in my life, but I often wonder how flexible and strong I would be if I had started young. Story 45. Work stress. It's taken me a year and a half to undo the damage of stress, and I'm still struggling. The thing that I struggle with the most is other people's relationships with stress. I feel like it's a badge of honor to have stress in the US. It's hard to get along in a toxic, stress-laden environment when you're trying to reduce stress and heal from stress at the same time. And if any of these stories got to you too, here's more for us. YouTube thinks we're going to love this. I'll catch you in that video.